Hey guys, don't forget we can also just keep Kevin Durant and move forward into the Jordan Ott era with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant.
Stephen, no pleasantries. Let's jump right into it. Let's start with what Duane Rankin of the AZ Republic was reporting earlier today, that the Phoenix Suns, due to Kevin Durant's age and, of course, the known desire that he wants to play elsewhere, that they do not have leverage in any trade negotiations, and they might have to lower their asking price. Of course, this reporting goes on at the same time that plenty of other deals and packages are being leaked from other sources that we'll get to in a second, but your initial response or reaction to Duane's reporting earlier today?
Yeah, it's a little tough to hear, but at the same time, I think while they might not have the leverage to the extent that some people expected or assumed that they might, they still have the piece that other teams are wanting. That naturally has leverage in and of itself because you're not tied to, because he doesn't have a no trade clause, sending him specifically where he might prefer to go, nor to the teams that might have a package that they feel is best for him. So you still have a little bit, just maybe not as much as people assumed you would.
Yeah, let's do what we always do, which is dissect why would this come out. Now, Duane, obviously a very trusted Sun source, and I do have full faith in Duane. I'm not saying that he's putting anything out there that is unreliable. But I do think that this reads as something coming from a non-Sun side of things, right?
Sure.
Because there's other reporting that we've gotten, and we can get into it now, in that from Charania on Pat McAfee earlier today, said the Rockets and the Heat are more realistic as of right now for Kevin Durant, and from Sham's understanding, Minnesota isn't out of it. They're still very much engaged and active in Kevin Durant conversation. He also adds that there are more motivated teams than the Spurs, and in a Suns-Miami deal, he mentions Wiggins, Rozier, and some of 3 young guys being involved. It does feel like there are at least a couple of teams, Stephen, who are interested in KD. I guess my thought is that interest at a certain level? Is it capped at this point where the Suns are continuing to try to get more and more and more, and even the interested teams aren't willing to go above a certain threshold of value for what will be a 37-year-old superstar?
No, I think it's just more the media continuing to be leveraged for the negotiations that are taking place, which was a lot of what we talked about yesterday on the main pod and the trending pod that we did. I don't think that there's only 3 teams that are included. He might have 3 preferences, but I don't think he would scoff at if Minnesota was a team the Suns decided to deal him to. I don't think he would be mad at that, considering who he would be playing with, what they're likely going to offer, and ultimately what roster they're able to field around him and Anthony Edwards. Just as an example of the teams that are considering him right now, I just don't think it's going to be as exaggerated as it maybe seems at this moment in time.
That his value is so low?
Correct.
Yeah.
That part is insane for someone that would have been all NBA again in their age 37 season.
And,
like, what are we talking
that's the
about
thing,
right now?
right? is I do think that, like, lost in all of this is people always are just talking about the age that Kevin Durant is and the value that he's lost, but not about actual on-court production, right? Yeah. And I'm not saying that means you're going to get the trade package that you gave up for Kevin Durant. We've been consistently staying here. You're not getting 5 first 5 seconds, Mikhail, Cam, and Jay for KD, but you're also not going to trade him for scraps. And there's even reporting from Brian Windhorst, who was on ESPN Cleveland radio earlier today, and said he wouldn't rule out the Suns considering keeping Kevin Durant if they're not able to get a trade that they like, and having to make a decision like, do we not trade him at all? And that's something that we've unpacked, where, you know, there is a way to make a winning team around Book and KD. Now, with Beal in the mix, you don't love that. But even this feels like it could be a leak from a Suns side of things, because you don't want these teams to feel like they have you in a corner, right? You don't want Minnesota to think, hey, you're the only team who's actually interested in getting him. You don't want Houston and San Antonio and Miami to think we can keep our main young pieces, a Castle, a 2-pick, a Ware, a 10-pick, a Jabari, whatever it is. You want them to also be afraid of the other option, which is, nah, man, you just don't get this guy. Yeah. Like, we'll just keep him and maybe try to sign him to an extension and trade him at the trade deadline, or trade him at the deadline without an extension as a 3-month mercenary instead of a 1-season mercenary. What do you think the odds are that at the end of this all, Kevin Durant's still wearing purple and orange?
I've maintained all season or all offseason long that it's not a guarantee. I would probably say it's around 10% that he's still in Phoenix. Because if the complications are true, which I feel like is the most common denominator amongst all of the reporting, is that it's not as streamlined as it maybe seemed it would be, even a couple of weeks ago, even a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Because of that, I think the Suns are just kind of reminding via Brian Windhorst that, hey guys, don't forget we can also just keep Kevin Durant and move forward into the Jordan Ott era with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Roll the dice there with that, see if we can work out a contract extension with him, and then that opens up some other things and see what you do with Bill and go forward from there. Like, don't forget, like they're just letting people know we're not pigeonholed to only trading him. Don't forget that.
Right. Well, especially because it does kind of feel like they put themselves in a position to where it feels like they pigeonholed themselves when they tried to trade him at the deadline, and now you've had, I mean, what is now months and months. I mean, we're talking all the way back to February.
And it's the way in which it happened. If they went to him and said, hey, we don't want to, but because of the constraints of the aprons and the new CBA
and the offers that people are bringing,
we're not going to say we're going to trade you, but we're just going to have an open ear to these things. Now, imagine how different that light would be from leverage, from the perspective of Kevin Durant, and obviously the rest of the team in terms of roster building and the ambiguity that just simply wouldn't exist because of that had you gone about your business that way. Self-inflicted again.
Do you think that this big swell of reporting, whether it's from Duane or Windhorst or Shams or The Athletic, who reported last night that the Spurs are Kevin Durant's #1 preferred destination, do you think that plays into a Kevin Durant trade happening soon? Or does it kind of feel like this is going to continue to drag on and possibly bleed into what could be next week?
Well, I've always felt it would go into draft day, potentially.
Draft day. That would be next Wednesday, the 25th.
If not the day or two leading into that week, which will obviously be early that week. So, no, it doesn't shift in terms of the urgency of it. I just kind of always anticipated draft week being something that likely takes place once the finals are over, which Oklahoma City looks like they're about to handle their business there. And the Halliburton news also aids that as well. That's tough on their end, but I felt like it's going to take on a forefront of everything draft related because of the nature of picks being involved, and teams wanted to have control of that pick rather than taking a player that they maybe didn't value as much.
Yeah. Well, and then that might also be an argument, though, just as a counterpoint to get this done earlier so that you know who you're scouting and what to target over the next week, because it's a lot different for the Suns to scout at 29 than it is to scout at 10.
10 or 19 or 14 or more unlikely to, but
probably not to. But you never know. I mean, Kurt Goldsberry reporting, or just saying on a podcast, I don't know if it's technically reporting, that the Suns are asking for the #2 pick in Stephon Castle in trade talks that are around Kevin Durant. You know, you maybe huh?
Yeah, maybe and right.
Imagine that. That's what happens with all of this.
I mean, honestly, you gotta, in negotiations, you start outlandish and they have to talk you down.
Yeah.
You don't just come in and say, no, I don't want the #2 or Stephon Castle. You
I want both.
That.
Yeah, we'll settle on one.
I want everything.
Both.
I want everything. Right. Who's
Yeah.
went into all-you-can-eat buffet and said, I'm just getting vegetables instead of filling that plate with everything? Exactly. Like, that's what negotiations is about.
Where else you getting all-you-can-eat buffet jokes about Kevin Durant trade rumors?
And no, Max, we did not spoil anything, so we did a great job.
No, we didn't say a single free ad, Max.
You're
okay.
welcome.
We've got live shows at 3 p.m. on PHNX Suns, Monday through Friday. We're going to be doing breaking news pods for Kevin Durant whenever this goes down. So many of you have been watching these trending pods on YouTube, listening on audio. If you're here on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you know when the next one comes out and when we go live Monday through Friday at 3. If you're listening on audio, 5-star reviews go a long way. And if you've been listening and watching this whole time, which so many of you have, you know this by now, but I'm going to say it anyway. Breaking news pod, whenever Kevin Durant gets traded, right here on this channel, we will be the first to react to it and have a community come together and react to a new era of Suns basketball, whatever that might bring. Until we get there, you can follow along with everything, get the latest trade updates and everything possible at PHNX_Suns. That's on Twitter. That is also on Instagram. You can follow us at StephenPG3 on Twitter. You can follow me at ERIKRUBY. We'll be back with so much more trending mini pods and beyond very soon. So don't go anywhere.
We all silly like the mayor.